You doing, Daniel?
Hey, I'm doing great. Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you.
All right, all right. Hey, well, you got a good background there going, a little festive activity.
Well, it's the season, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And don't worry if you have a wife, a dog, or a child, or an insectoid reptilian walk behind you. It's all part of the fun of this show.
Okay, I'll let them know.
Yeah, and we've actually had. By the way, we've actually had wives and such. Just kind of wave in, and if anybody wants to say hello from there, just make sure. Of course, you see me at the green screen, but everybody else is watching the video and our backgrounds that we'll have, and so that's going to be great. Well, Jason, welcome to the program, man. We're going to be talking with you tonight about forbidden knowledge, and I guess one of the subcategories of forbidden knowledge is the knowledge of time travel and that type of thing. But before we get going, as you probably know, in any show you've ever been on, you got to introduce yourself to the audience, so to speak. What you do in this realm, how'd you get into it? A little bit about Jason.
Sure. I would consider myself a lifetime experiencer, and that means that my entire life I've had very strange experiences dealing with the paranormal. So when I was younger, when I would go to bed, I'd have things come to visit me at night, and I would leave my body, and I just thought that was just normal, and I was just dreaming like everybody else. And when I would talk to people about it, like if I would talk about these journeys to my parents, they would just say it's a nightmare and everybody has them. Mm-hmm. So they just kind of, I would say, fizzled out as I started to grow up. But as I grew, I started to experience very, very strange things, not only with different beings coming to visit me, but also experiencing past life remembrances. So I could see a person, and then suddenly I would remember this lifetime that we had together. And I was very young when we were doing this, probably around between the ages of 5 and 11. So it wasn't like it was just coming to me, and I would go innocently to the person and tell them, don't you remember this life that we had? It was like this, and we did this. And they would kind of, raise their eyebrow at me. So I started to learn that maybe they don't see those things, and I shouldn't talk about them. But it didn't really start until I was in my early 20s. And that's when my life just turned upside down, I would say. And basically what started to happen is I started to experience sleep paralysis. And it was through these sleep paralysis experiences that I started to have this kind of separation and entrance into this new world, which many people call the fourth dimension or the astral world. And I started to get a lot of information, and it really turned my life around, actually. So right now, for the past over 15 years, basically I've had guides and teachers and information come to me from the other side that's opened me up more, that has healed me, and who's encouraged me to come forward and tell my story, like what happened to me growing up and what's continuing to happen to me. Because I really do believe that what I'm going through is just a normal human experience, and there's many, many people just like me that are experiencing this.
Mm-hmm. As far as people that are experiencing this, in your sphere of influence, are you seeing an uptick of these type of experiences?
No, actually, it's the opposite.
They're decreasing.
They're decreasing. So it was almost like I had this big awakening in my early 20s, and it was almost like I couldn't close it off. So it was happening to me very frequently. And as I started to heal and do what I was told about what I need to do to heal myself, those contacts started to decrease. But I continued on with the teachings that they gave me, and every once in a while, maybe every once a month or every couple months, I'll have another experience and get new information or learn new things.
Mm-hmm. Jason Quidd, Were you seeking out the sort of esoteric things? Were you seeking out outer body experience? Were you seeking out any of this?
No, no. At the time, actually, I was having quite fun. I just got out of college and I opened up a recording studio and graphic design house with a friend of mine, and we were having the time of our lives. And I was really into that world, and it was almost like I was being pulled out of it forcefully. So I wasn't seeking any of this, and I didn't really have any of that knowledge. It just started to happen.
Mm-hmm. The way the show rolls is we get questions from that are posted in our live chat, and then we also get them sent to us in our Fast Blast, which is an email client. So we get them from several places, and sometimes they may or may not be directly where we're at in the conversation. So we'll
that's fine.
Just kind of roll with it. We'll take this one here from Steve Ells out of the live chat. Jason, is this similar to Econ Car?
Oh, I'm not familiar.
Okay. Okay.
And I'll just have to expand on that, is that when I started to go through these experiences and I would receive a teaching or a message, I would have to go online at the time. This was before YouTube, and I'd have to kind of search out that information and see if what I was being told people are talking about. Mm-hmm. So I really didn't read any books or anything on the subject.
Okay, so you didn't have any sort of seated knowledge that really created a projected something in your life, mental projection. Okay, so it came out of nowhere, and then you began to by the fact that you were being affected by this, you had to research it. It wasn't, I mean, because as you are aware, I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that, you know, they get enamored and mesmerized by a certain topic, and then perhaps they build a life out of it, or some kind of belief system out of that. But so it's interesting that it struck you without that. But let's go to this question here from guest 43. Jason, it says, where would your spirit go to?
Multiple places. It would be different every time, and I couldn't really control it. So I would say once you leave the body, you get pulled to different places. I really felt like I didn't have a choice of where I was going. It was almost like a magnetic pull. Mm-hmm. So once I'm out, I feel this thing just kind of pull me someplace in time and space. Okay. And suddenly I'm there.
Okay. Now I would just like to take a moment here for those that have already. I'll tell you what, Jason. This whole program. If you look down our guest list, there is a wide variety of guest topics. And so this show, I refuse to let this show be pigeonholed into one way or another. And therefore, what I've done is created a large table for a lot of people with different views. Now, some of the people that watch the show have very strict sort of religious type views, and some are the whole gamut of what you'd find in any city, you know, atheists and agnostics and believers and, you know, New Agers, whatever. And so there would be some questionings from various quarters. And I just say that to say, for those that have already made the decision, I think all of us have experienced something along those lines. You mentioned sleep paralysis. I had a paralysis type event when I was little. I've shared on this program many times, and I didn't go seeking it out. And I felt like some kind of entity tried to kill me. You know, so and I had.
That's what it feels like, actually.
So I mean, for judgmental among us, we got if people look in their lives, there might be some part of what you're saying that they've already experienced. Maybe it's not the same description or the same title, or whatever label you give it. But for them, it may be something else. All right, moving on. We have this question from again from guest 43. It says, is it could be your consciousness shedding off rather than you say leaving your body?
That's a good question. I would say that it's both, because it is the consciousness that is leaving it, because it's the changing of awareness. So it's almost like you're aware that you're going to sleep, and then now you're aware that there's some type of pulling out from the body, and you're conscious in that. And then there's an awareness, okay, now I'm outside of my body and I can see the space. And then that awareness, which is consciousness, gets taken to these different places.
Mm-hmm. All right. Peter from Australia has this question for you, Jason Quitt. Did you see anything during your sleep paralysis? Some people say they see like an old hag a lot of times.
Oh, yeah. I would say with the sleep paralysis, I felt something walking around the room at first. And when I finally shook myself hard enough to wake up, I actually popped myself out of my body, and there was a being standing at the end of the bed. It was very tall. It could have been about 7 to 8 feet tall, and it just looked like a dark shadow. And that it almost looked like a Grim Reaper type of being. And my first thought was I just died because I could see myself on the bed sleeping, and I can see this Grim Reaper looking thing at the end of the bed. And that startled me so much that it actually sucked me back in my body, and I woke up.
If I experienced that, I'd be running back to my body too. I don't know about no sucking sound. I know Ross Perot said there was a giant sucking sound going down to Mexico, but I'd rather have the sucking sound of my body, me going back in my body. Is it possible, Jason, that have you ever heard any stories where, let's say, somebody's outside and they get pulled into the wrong body?
I have not heard that story, but I have experienced leaving my body and going into another body. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't know if you've seen, there's a show called Stargate Atlantis, mm-hmm. and they have these things called communication stones. And when one grabs the stone, suddenly they're in somebody else's body. And I've actually experienced something very similar to that. It's not with stones, but your consciousness leaves, and then it goes into that body, and suddenly you're awake in that body.
Mm-hmm. So your life took a turn to where you had to investigate these things because these things were happening to you. And was there any other plausible explanation as to why these things were happening to you?
I never found a decent answer to that. Mm-hmm. You go to people that are psychics or channelers, and they tell me the same thing, that I've been doing this many lives. So this is something that I've come into this life already doing.
Okay.
And many people say that, I've chosen and accepted this as my path in this life. It sure seems like it because I really didn't have any control over it. I did at one time really dislike it and try to stop it. And my experiences did change, but they didn't stop.
Okay. All right. You mentioned to me before the show that you're married. Do you have any kids?
Not yet.
Okay. You plan on a family?
Probably, yes.
Is it likely that your children are going to time travel? Like old dad?
Well, I'll say that my wife is very gifted too. And I think that the children would definitely be gifted as well. But you never know.
The relational issues intrigue me, and I've had many guests, and when I have a guest on like Josh and Christine Peck and there's a whole list of folks that have been on the program where there's been even husband and wife come on, and so I'm intrigued when one of the partners has these stories, and I want to know how that affects the other. And so my question is does she know that when you met? You go down to kind of a chart, say, okay, I like to go out, I like to do this, do that, and you're looking to see if she matches up with you, and you say, I like to go out of my body, and I like to go back in the past. I mean, did that put any red flags up for her? She says, or did she say, oh, I've been doing that for a while, I can't explain it either?
Well, she was very open as well, and we actually met through a mutual friend who was a psychic, so she was already kind of in that scene. But the thing with being married to someone that's very gifted is that she could basically read my mind no matter where I am on the planet. So,
oh boy! Yes. Now can't that get you in trouble, Jason?
Oh, of course.
I mean, there's all kinds of things we say right here. Fill in the blank. I mean, there's things that a man don't really want to say what he's thinking, and especially if his wife is knowing. But okay, all right. So you kind of mated there a little bit. I mean, you both had some kind of things going on. So you were recommended by a psychic for her? Or she was recommended to
No, no, I have a friend who's a channeler, and she would have classes where she would channel and talk, and my wife, that's where I met her. She was actually in the class listening as well. And it's very rare. Like when we started to do this, I was quite young, and everybody in the class is quite, I would say, middle-aged or older. So when you see a young person coming into the class, it's like, hey, it's a very small club. Yeah.
Well, we're getting a little risque. We have a rolling chat going on here. I don't know whether I should really. Are you watching that?
No, I don't. I don't know where that is.
Okay, it's on the left side of the website. Maybe you shouldn't, but
Maybe I should.
Somebody, yeah, you can click on it. Hey, why not? And that way, people got to fess up at whatever they say. There's a chat button on the left side of the website there, so just click on that and you can see. But there seems to be some intrigue there about regarding how it is you went into somebody else's body. I mean, did they know that you were in there?
No,
they didn't.
No, I don't think so. What happened was. And I'll probably not look at the chat because it'll take me off.
Okay. Yeah. No, I don't recommend it tonight. No.
But
because of the question I'm getting ready to ask, go ahead. That would only be asked on this show. Just preparing you. Go ahead.
That's fine. No, when I left. Okay, so there was one time where I left my body and I'm going out into space. And I have somebody behind me kind of guiding me through this. Like I said, it's not under my control. It's almost like I'm being shown this. And we come up to a star system. And I asked, where are we going? And they said Pegasus. And then we went down to a planet that looked like an ice planet. And around the equator it was green. And they dropped me into a school. And it was almost like my consciousness went right into the mind of a child that was sitting in this classroom. So imagine just kind of suddenly now I'm in a classroom and I'm Jason in the mind, but I have this little body. So I'm still like a little kid in a school. And, I was turning around and trying to ask people what my name was, and no one was really giving me any answers. I was probably looked like I was crazy or speaking a different language. I don't know. But I ran out of the classroom and I was trying to find a library. I really was interested in seeing what kind of books they had. And I was just pulled back out and taken back into space and put back into my body.
And now to the fun stuff. Is it possible that have you ever went into somebody else's body when, say, that body was maybe with another body and these two bodies were getting it on? I mean, and they were experiencing things. Would you experience what they were experiencing?
No, I've never experienced that. And
now, see, I said that whole thing without using the word orgasm. All right. Hey, now I noticed you got a nice smile and a nice laugh there. But is your laugh there as you explain these stories? Is there a little bit of embarrassment that these things happen to you and you got to talk about them? It's a little bit embarrassing, but is that kind of the way it is?
I'll just tell you that most of my experiences, so 95% of everything that I've experienced, was not nice. All right, so it was taken and shown things that I didn't want to see, going back into past lives where I would relive moments of death. So all these things were, I would say they're not friendly to my consciousness. So when I start to describe, let's say, having a day at a prison camp, for example, on one of my journeys, which was quite horrific, I have to laugh and I have to smile when I talk about that because it's probably the only way I can cope with those situations.
I see. All right. Let's go to Fast Blast this time over here. As you see, I changed my view because it's over here on this computer from Pennsylvania. Have you ever found yourself in a woman's body?
No.
Okay. Is that in sort of the Star Trek directive type of thing? Is it mandatory that you only pop into another man's body?
I think that it has to do with not altering what's going on there. So most of the experiences were, I would say, out of body, where I could observe the environment and the things going on, but I would be invisible and I wouldn't be able to interact with the scene.
Okay, we're having a bit of audio trouble there. I'm not sure.
Can you hear me now?
Now, yeah, it might be your mic there. Have you had issues with it?
Hold on one second. I'll see if I can hear this here.
Yeah, seems like it has to do with your headset. Let's see.
Can you hear me now?
There, perfect.
Okay, so that's my computer mic right now.
Okay, well, it sounds just as good, if not better, than where you were on. Very good.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so
excellent.
So, now I forget the question.
Well, I'll tell you what we were talking about. Is there a prime directive to where you can only appear into a man's body?
I don't know about a prime directive for that, but I do know that when you're traveling, or from what I've experienced, is that you can't interact with what's going on. It's almost like you're taken out. So I'm there and observing, but I can't alter or change anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, from what I gather, it's not like you're conjuring demons. These things are happening to you, and you have to deal with it. I mean, you know, however way you can. And now, and one of the ways you deal with it is that in your writings and in your website, you try to get that information of your discovery out. Is that where that's coming from?
That's exactly right. And trust me, I would say I still spend time what you would call battling demons. Because it's very dangerous when you start to leave your body.
Yeah.
And you really have to know what to do, or things really mess with you, pull your energy, try to push you out of your body, go inside. Like, I didn't grow up, reading religious texts or studying anything spiritual. But that world definitely exists, and the way they talk about it in the Bible as having, there are entities and beings on the other side that would really love to be part of this physical world, and will do anything to get inside a human body.
Well, that knowledge seems being some knowledge that you've came through the hard way. So this question from the Fast Blast from Philip in Georgia: have you ever had your sleep monitored or a laboratory observed to see if anything is happening to you that can be physically recorded?
No, I haven't had anything like that. Mm-hmm. There was a point where I really thought I was going crazy. It was happening so much. And my father was very concerned. He took me to the doctor, and we got pretty much every test done, even ultrasound and x-rays and blood work, and they basically found nothing abnormal with me.
Drug test? Did you pass the drug test, Jason?
Yes, I did.
Okay, very good.
Yes,
very
good.
I did. Very good. I've had some on the show that say when they leave their body, there's like some kind of silver cord or type of thing. You say you use the word pull and sucked. Have you heard anybody say there's this cord thing that directs you back to your body? Or
I've heard that, but I've never physically seen it. Mm-hmm. And it's strange. Many people talk fearfully about going outside their body, mm-hmm. and saying that they're afraid that they can't get back in. Mm-hmm. I always have the opposite problem. My problem is I want to stay out longer, and my body's pulling me back. Mm.
Okay, so you want to stay out longer. So then I take it initially you were startled, scared, confused, but then at some point it sounds to me like you may rather enjoy your experiences out there.
Well, there's this really big curiosity factor, mm-hmm. because it's almost like you get a glimpse of a new world. The laws are different. Everything is different. You're not in a physical body. You're just like this energy. You got this 360 view, and you get a taste of it. And then suddenly you get back in your body and you wake up and you know that this is completely different than a dream. In fact, I can't describe it. It feels, it feels more real, mm-hmm. than a waking life. Mm-hmm. And the only people that understand that are people that have left their body. But I I think the curiosity really drove me. So it's almost like I'd go to sleep at night sometimes and physically try to leave my body by myself without them coming and taking me.
When you use the word them, who are they? What do they look like?
They never showed themselves directly. They almost looked like they were invisible. And you could see their outlines. It looked like a humanoid being, but you can see right through them. Mm-hmm. And so I never actually got to see the beings that would take me on the time travel journeys. But I did have other experiences later on with beings that you would consider, let's say, like insectoid or reptilian or gray or very different things that we don't really have descriptions for.
You seen reptilians?
Yes.
Okay. I described Hillary Clinton as reptilian and Nancy Pelosi as an insectoid because it just seems like it fits. But do these creatures ever take over a human body, or are they always sort of out there where you're saying they're flying around with cords, pulling and pushing people around?
Well, I'll just say that the ones that I met, they were friendly, but I have come in contact with ones that aren't. Mm-hmm. And it was always dimensional, so it wasn't like a physical interaction. So I have a friend who says that, he's worked with them in the military as a physical being, mm-hmm. but I have never seen a physical being who was always outside of the body.
Strangely enough, now I'm here in Indianapolis, and our Capitol building, on one side of the Capitol building is something that looks like a Stargate. Like you mentioned Stargate, mm-hmm. It looks exactly like a Stargate, and it's sitting on the lawn of the Capitol building. It's like, really? What is that? And then, you had the Hadron Collider. It sounds to me like that device it has been created to get what you're experiencing every day, because many people have been on this show, and anybody's done research on it will tell you that it seems to be they're trying to open up a portal on command, where you seem to be experiencing it just here or there and random, or maybe however they decide they're going to come down and get you. But it sounds to me like they know that exists, and they're trying to tap into it, and they're trying to control it. The problem always seems to be what could come from that other dimension that will not go back over there and mess us all up. You know what I'm saying?
I think they've been really trying to do that since probably the 70s. And so I think they're very advanced in doing that right now. I do think there are ancient stargates on this planet, and I think that's where they got the idea of that show from. Mm-hmm. I'm sure some of your listeners, they've seen the movie The Fog. Stephen King, The Fog.
Oh yeah, fun movie.
Yep,
get
really
out popcorn
fun movie.
And turn the lights out.
That's about changing the dimension.
Why is it so many Stephen King movies have little boys roam around in underwear? Just a question. All right, go ahead. I'm telling you, it's sick. But anyway, yeah. So it's like The Fog there.
Well, and also there was a new show called Stranger Things, which is very much. I would say I think that's a true story, just from my experiences and watching how they did that. Mm-hmm. I would say that's very plausible that the government would try to open a door like that.
Mm-hmm. And I wish they quit spending our tax dollars to do it. Sir Blanta is from Canada. Jason, how do you know your previous life experiences aren't coming from people whose bodies your consciousness is being put into?
I would say that we all, we all have a. Sorry, my throat is not so good.
It's all right.
We all have a collective past life. And I think we grab from those experiences. Mm-hmm. I think the Earth magnetic field, they call that the book of life, and basically all experience and all life is stored there. So when we come and incarnate on this planet, we can actually pick and choose the experiences that we need to help us on our journey here.
I've related that, what you just said, is one of the Twilight Zone series shows where a Nazi concentration camp commander ended up coming back and reliving a life as a Jew in that camp. So hopefully we don't need to do that, and and have to keep doing it over till we get it right. That sounds like a little bit of Hinduism there, but this question from me too. It says, and this from the live chat: does anyone in your ancestry, were any of those prone to this? Is there anything in your history that you know of, a relative that experienced what you experienced? Now you're experiencing it.
I've heard some stories from my family, and they would just pass it off as nightmares or a ghostly encounter, but nothing more than that.
Mm-hmm. Now, how does all this relate to time travel itself? Are you going back in time when you go out of your body? Is this when it is, or is it the theorem of time travel in general? What's going on with that?
Well, once I left the body, so let's say I'm entering into the astral world or the fourth dimension, or outside of this consciousness field, it seems like time and space don't exist anymore. So it's almost like we can tap in and go to places just with a thought. We can be there and experience it. So when we come back into the physical body, we have these laws that keep us on this linear time field. But once we leave this dimension, suddenly those laws don't apply anymore.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the laws of time and physics don't apply. It's just something else. What does apply? Nothing? No rules?
I would definitely think there's rules. I don't think I'm that advanced enough to really know what the rules are. Mm-hmm. I know that when it comes to past life experience, it's different than time travel experiences. Mm-hmm. So a past life it's almost like these memories come back and you remember going through this like a recall of memory. Mm-hmm. Whereas time travel is I'm actually physically or astrally taken and then dropped off in a certain location where I have to observe something and then picked back up and put in my body.
I have in my background now your book cover, Forbidden Knowledge, which was written by you and Bob Mitchell. What's in that book?
Basically, Forbidden Knowledge is a collection of all the main stories that I learned from leaving my body. Mm-hmm. So it goes over all the experiences, everything that I was told, everything that I saw and experienced. And Bob Mitchell, he's written books on a lot of conspiracy and alien-related topics. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of alien and conspiracy stuff in there too.
Mm-hmm. If somebody went back in time, are they able to change anything?
I would say if you go back in time physically, and I really believe that we have physically time traveled for many years, and that's just one of the things that they keep from us, is that if you physically go back and change the timeline, I believe that you actually create an alternative timeline. You splinter the timelines. So the timeline that you came from will continue down that path, but the new timeline that you altered will go down a new set of time.
But if you altered something in the past, then would you be able to come back to the future and experience the results of your altering of that history?
I would say yes. Yes.
Well,
but
if you went back and let's just say you got in a fight with one of your ancestors and they died, would you be born?
See, this is like the whole grandfather paradox, and like I say, I'm not a physical in my body time traveler. So there's some people that claim that they're physical time travelers, and that they were very scared of the grandfather paradox. If you kill your grandfather, you're not going to be born. You're just going to disappear. Mm-hmm. And they say that they tested that and nothing actually happened. There was just a deviation in the timeline. Mm-hmm. Or they put that timeline on a different I'll say parallel reality.
Has any time travelers ever been able to bring something back from the past?
From what I've been told, that it's extremely dangerous to take anything with you. And from what I've heard from the military, is that even if you pull a camera on one of these bases, you're going to military prison. Mm-hmm. So it's very sealed. Or if they even show you documents or pictures, that never leaves the room.
Do you think the government is looking for time travelers?
No, I think they have them.
You think they have their own?
Yeah.
Question. Here's a question coming in for you. It says, is there a place in time that never existed? That is it a brand new place altogether?
I'm starting to see creation as basically eternal and infinite. And it's like you're trying to go back to the beginning. It's almost impossible. Mm-hmm. So that's a very large question that I can't possibly answer.
Okay, well, that's fine. And here's a question from Good Tech out of the live chat. It says, is it hard to travel through time without getting older or younger? Does your age change at all?
From what I've been told from physical time travelers, they say once you leave, how many days that you spend, let's say time traveling, you're aging as much as your heart is beating. Mm-hmm. So you may go for a couple years and then come back the moment you left, but you're going to be 2 years older.
Mm-hmm. All right. Put Yahweh first out of the live chat question. Do you think fallen angels have ever interacted with you, Jason?
Fallen angels ever interacted with me? I would say that I would not know. I would consider a fallen angel a very, let's say, a dark being in the astral world. Mm-hmm. And I've come in contact with a couple of those, and luckily I'm still breathing. But
mm-hmm.
yeah, that's a difficult mm-hmm. thing. So, mm-hmm.
Jason, you strike me as a sort of a very nice young man starting out in life, and you've got a lot of things that happen to you pretty quickly, things you didn't understand, things you were forced to deal with without any sort of rudimentary foundation of understanding life. I'm not saying that in a derogatory term, but you just didn't have any need to that really. I mean, as a youth, 5 to 11, you're going about doing what kids do, and so now you start to deal with things. But in this, all these things that you've had to look into, it sounds like you've dealt with, what'd you say, channelers and maybe, psychics, or maybe a whole range of folks. Have you ever looked into, and I don't want to use the word religious, but in the spiritual side of the good side of religion, which is the spiritual people inside of a religion, let's say, have you ever consulted them to give you anything, any insights of what could be happening to you other than what you're getting now from people who's, time travelers and psychics and these kinds of folks?
Yeah, no, I did. I really did. It was very difficult for me to reach out to, let's say, churches and synagogues and, just anybody that would listen to me. And I was very disappointed with their answers to me. Hold on, excuse me one second. Sure. I was very disappointed with their answers, and basically they would just tell me that just study the Bible, and they didn't really know. They actually looked very confused when I would talk to them openly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm sure they were definitely not studied in the opposite field of what they're in, or their spirituality. It didn't. Time travel certainly doesn't come up into their study, their Wednesday night study classes. I'm sure they didn't come up.
Right. And, at first when this started to happen to me, the first thing I thought was this was demons, or this was entities, this was an alien abduction. And the thing that really changed my perception of that is that there was beings on that side that were guiding me and trying to teach me how to better myself and how to heal myself in this world, and to give that message to others. So there's definitely two sides over there.
What type of healing did you experience?
They were teaching me what we would consider energy healing. So they were teaching me, they took me back to past lives in Egypt where they taught me different postures to stand in. And when you change the posture, you change the way the energy flows through the body. So that shifted me. And remember, I was going out and having all these amazing experiences, or not so amazing experiences. When I came back to my body, I'm just me. I didn't feel energy. I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. But when they taught me how to practice these postures or these meditations, suddenly I started to feel energy starting to go through my body that I've never experienced before.
It reminds me of an event I experienced years ago. I was in the Smoky Mountains, and I was traveling through there, and I got at the top of this mountain. There was what's called a sock-in. I mean, it's so cloudy that you couldn't move. I couldn't move the vehicle anymore. So, I thought I was in the middle of nowhere, but I looked through the fog, and I was right at a ranger station. And I thought, well, that's weird. I mean, it's just kind of like you talk about the movie The Fog. It's like something just manifested there. That seemed like that was a strange time thing, because I don't think that building was even there, but it was there. It appeared in the fog, and I went in there, and here there was a woman in there behind the counter, a forest ranger, who she was reading something. I looked over the counter, and she was reading the Bible, and I thought, wow, a federal employee reading the Bible? That's like they'll fire you for that. I may even had Christian music playing on the intercom. I can't remember. And so I asked her about that, and she said she was at one point a witch, and she pointed on the raised map of the Smoky Mountains where witches go. And she says what we would do, and they still do, not her anymore, but I'll tell you the story here real quick before we go to break. They would go to these high places, and the witches would make little stone circles, and they try to make their incantations. But she said, when she was in a witch's coven, she was given power. She witnessed all kinds of stuff, and one of her jobs was to go into churches and mess it up. She was given the power to change the color of her hair. She was given the power to trip people, knock books out of their hand, and so she saw sort of all the power. She saw the manifestation of those things, the power of that. Whereas when she went to churches, she experienced probably the type of church that when you reach out to a church and they got confused when you start talking about things like you talk about. They got confused. They don't know. They're not prepared to answer every man that hope that is within them to address that situation. Until one day, so she thought all the power was over there, and the church whole scene was just made up. Until one time, she went to this sort of youth group thing, and it was called Light the Fire or something, but she then experienced the power of God that came over her in such an overwhelming manner that, and she realized and saw the power of God that she got rid of everything, her connections with the witches, moved over to the other side. And then she says the witches still come into her ranger station and they try to cast spells at her, but they just bounce off. So it sounds you kind of reminded me of that when about whether or not which side has the most power. God doesn't seem to grandstand by saying, "Bam, you can go into past life. Bam, you can leave your body." He doesn't do that. He's not like a showman, but the dark side sort of is, and it's very convincing and compelling. You can say, well, you can go to this boring church, or you can have all this fun stuff over here. So it may be that you tapped into maybe the wrong area of that sort of religious spiritual type of genre. I
would say that it was almost like a training. It's almost like I had to experience that other side to come to the light. Mm-hmm. And I don't have any of those gifts or abilities that you mentioned. Mm-hmm. The only thing that I've experienced is healing power.
Mm-hmm.
I've had miraculous healings that just shouldn't have happened. And I've had miraculous healings with other people.
Give me a before we go to break. Give me a healing. What type of healing?
Well, I don't know. It's not something that I can control, really. It's just sometimes it just happens.
A mind healing. I don't know. I'm not saying heal me. I'm saying what type of healing? Did you see somebody? Did their cancer get healed? Did their mind get healed?
Yeah, no. There's been a couple people that have had diseases that after they saw me, they were gone. I've even had physical healings on myself where, I'll say just a simple example. I slammed my finger in a car door, and right when I came out, my whole finger was black and my nail was black.
Okay.
It was a lot of pain, and I was just told to hold a crystal. And I did, so I held a crystal.
You did? Okay.
And the next morning I woke up and it was like it never happened. No pain, no nothing. My nail wasn't black at all. And for me, that was a pretty miraculous healing. And then I broke a couple fingers playing football. And I did the same thing. And it wasn't overnight, but it took 2 days and my fingers were perfect again.
Okay. All right, Jason, we're right at the top of the hour. We take a 5-minute break here. We take you out of the picture, turn your mic down. But before we go, say something about your book or your website. Go ahead right now.
Sure. My website is thecrystalsun.com, and my book is Forbidden Knowledge, Revelations of a Multidimensional Time Traveler, and you can find that on Amazon.com.
Okay. All right, just hang on the line there. We're going to take you out of the picture and go to our halftime show. Here we go. All right, everybody, you're watching and or listening to the Edge Television broadcast. On our Newsmaker line tonight is, of course, Jason Quitt. We're talking about forbidden knowledge, time travel, and other events that he has experienced. If you have a question for Jason in the second hour, come back with us and put them in the live chat, or you can put them on our Fast Blast. We're going to be right back. Any device, that is our TuneIn radio player. Now let's go back to our live Skype guest, Jason Quitt. Jason, welcome back to the program.
Hey, hey, Daniel.
Man, sorry you have some. Hey, you got a little throat issue there, and I'm wondering now. Yeah. Can the beings help you with that?
I hope so.
I mean, do you have to ask them, or?
Yeah, sometimes I have to ask them, but sometimes I just let the body do what it has to do. I've been away from home for almost a month and a half. I was just in Japan for a month, and then I came back to Toronto for a week, and now you're finding me in Florida here. So I've been just kind of scooting around a little, and I think it's taking its toll.
Okay, well, I can understand you're pressing the boundaries of your physical capabilities there, but I'm just wondering, so what you're saying is the beings, the other sides, the enlightened ones, the insectoids, whatever, they don't heal on command. They must know you're going through something, right? Can't they give you extra strength? And I'm not being facetious. I'm just asking.
Well, no, I think I'd be a whole lot worse right now if it wasn't for them.
Okay. All right. Let's get to the question here from the live chat. Time Continuum is the avatar name there. Where does your conscious go when you dream?
When I dream, I just have normal dreams. I would say they're just random dreams, nothing too special. What we're talking about, I know that you could do lucid dreaming, which happens once in a while. And lucid dreaming is very interesting because you could use that as a platform to get information. So if I was conscious in a dream, I could pop myself into a different reality, or I could pop myself out of my body once I enter into that lucid dream state.
But you have no concern that you would not come back to the body that you left?
No.
In fact, is that based on your experience? I mean, obviously you're here, but I mean, so there's no, I mean, that whole thing is set. The rules are set. You can't possibly miss your body, right?
That's correct. I have never experienced that, and I've left hundreds and hundreds of times.
You know, in the movie, the Matrix, if you die in the Matrix, you die in reality.
Yeah.
Is it anything to do? Is that possible?
I think it is. I really think it is. And you know, we're talking about leaving the body and demons and spirituality and religion, but there's experiences where I leave my body and I could fix a situation. As in, let's say I'm going to sleep at night and I'm having a very strange dream. And like I know this dream is not mine. I would never think like this.
Okay.
And I would say that, okay, this isn't my dream in my dream. And then I would pop myself out of my body and I would see these things. You would call them entities or demons, and they would almost be speaking in the back of your head. And so now that I'm aware of this, I'm thinking, you know, this is not right. I don't want this to happen to me. And then I have to start praying or call on different higher energies, and I can literally see it being taken off of me. And then I go back to sleep and I have a normal dream.
Are you describing a dream within a dream?
No, a dream within a dream.
I've heard that. Have you experienced it at all? I've heard that term. And
yes.
by the way, I'm going to put this out to live chat. Is anybody in the live chat watching the program who's not in the live chat? Have you had a dream within a dream? That's a very interesting topic.
And the movie Inception actually did a very good job of that. And I was having those dreams my whole life where it's almost like you go to sleep in your dream and then you wake up in a dream and then suddenly you wake up again and then you wake up again. Sometimes it happens more than 3 times. So you're just continually waking up.
3 levels?
Or more.
Well, see, I'm one, Jason. I'm convinced that dreams is not an organic event, which scientists would say, clinicians, you know, godless type people. It just seems to me, you know, they say, well, you have a fragment of a plane on a brain synapse, right? And you have a fragment of something over there, and you have a fragment of something over there, and at night it all comes together. And I'm saying, and then it comes into a dream. And I said, wait a minute now. Who told these things? Who pulled them together? Because every movie, i.e., a dream, seems like it's choreographed. It's a realm, a line of events that make a sort of a mind movie, right? And that's what a dream is. You know, you're flying or you're, you know, whatever you're doing, but somebody's got to choreograph that, got to write that out. Well, then nobody's explained who's doing that. Where is that coming from? Is that on another? Is there a director sitting on another synapse to create that dream? I don't think so. So I'm just saying that's left to be decided out there, whether your explanation is correct or not. I think that is still remains to be seen.
Well, I know that we think dreams are just working out what we're doing in life. So all the fragments coming together like you explained. But in native cultures, they believe the dream world was just the spirit world. It was a place where they could get information. And have you ever had a dream where you actually received information and you woke up and you're like, I've never thought of that before, or I'm going to try that?
Yes, I have.
Okay,
I woke up in the middle. I had a dream that was so real that I was supposed to start a sort of a side business, and I jumped out of bed and it's like it just came to me, and I followed through with it. And while that didn't come to fruition, it had minor success. It eventually failed. But then I thought, well, not trying something, I'm looking at it pragmatically, not trying something is a failure. You know, that's where your true failure is. If you don't try something, you can try and fail, and that's success. But if you don't try at all, that's failure right there. So I looked at it from that way. But I didn't have the end result I wanted, but I did act on it and was hoping that I'd get another one. So go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say that, I've had dreams before where, let's say I was getting sick, and in the dream, I was shown, take this herb or take this vegetable and juice this and drink this and you'll feel better. And it's the same thing that the different natives in the rainforest do is there's millions of varieties of plants. and they pick the ones that will heal different things, and they ask them, well, how did you know about this? And they say, well, the plant told me in a dream, said, pick me, and this will do this for me. So I'm finding a lot of people, they have a lot of dreams that actually help them.
So do you have any dream catchers around your house there trying to catch a dream?
No.
Do you think they work?
No, from my experience, I didn't notice a difference.
You didn't, but
No.
there would be somebody out there that you're bringing things to the show tonight that others have not experienced, but you claim to be real. I'm sure there are those out there that claim that dream catchers do in fact catch dreams, but I'm not sure. Like a Stargate, it's like a bag full of colorful M&Ms. You don't know what color you're going to get. You know what I'm saying? So if you're catching a dream, man, you want to make sure it's a good dream because you don't want to catch a nightmare with a thing. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. That's right. So I did have one when I was younger, but I don't know about how that would work about catching dreams. It just looked very nice on a window.
And that would be another question I'm posed to the live chat viewers, and that is, has anybody's dream ever came true, or did you ever get directions in your dream? Now, there are Bible verses out there, Jason, that specifically mention dreams. I know one of them says, "Your young men shall dream dreams, your old men shall have visions." So there's something that the great Creator, the great Designer, wants us to know about dreams. And in fact, biblically speaking, there are many events that were foretold in dreams. So I'm thinking dreams are part of God's plans for our life. So maybe, but I'm thinking there's also other people or other entities out there that maybe put dreams into us or interfere with our dreams. They plant fake dreams.
You got it.
It's all like fake news going on. Well, how about fake dreams, man? You don't want to act on something that's not from the good side, I would say.
And that's where the word discernment comes in, because you do get manipulated. You do get thoughts and dreams placed inside of you, and you get it from both sides, and you have to figure out which is the ones that are coming from the right place.
All right, here's a question from Philip, and let's see where, I think it's in Georgia. All right, it says, the beings that you saw, do any of them have names?
No, I was never actually given a name.
There's no identifier to them?
No, I hear like a lot of channeled messages where, they say, I am this person, or I am this master. Mm-hmm. With me, it's just they're standing in front of me and they just start speaking. There's no, hi, my name is this and I'm from here.
Okay. All righty. Let's get to another question. It says, have you ever healed or heard of healing using colors?
Yes. There's a lot of information on colors. Excuse me.
Is that right?
And it has to do with light. It really has to do with light.
Well, while you're taking a drink there,
Yeah.
I've in my house I have this. I like colors, and so I have a orange bedroom. I have a blue bedroom. I have a yellow kitchen. I have a purple laundry room. I have a beige living room. I've got a green screen on the wall. I've got a big mural of trees on one wall. So, there's something about colors. I feel like it's feng shui. Maybe now is all these colors bringing me healing?
They are. They're different wavelengths of light. And we need light. We're made of light. And if you look at some of the most amazing churches or temples, they'll have beautiful stained glass windows in different colors. And as the light or the sunlight comes through those stained glass windows, it's basically sending very healing frequencies into that space or temple.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Question from Peter from Australia, way down under. One of our great longtime viewers. He stays up late for this program. Says, do you think it's possible to leave one's body while standing and then being left in suspended animation until returning? In other words, I think what he's saying, you don't go anywhere. You missed your rendezvous point. You're just kind of like hanging out there.
It's happened a couple times. but it's only happened to me in special places, like when I was in Peru. So when I stood on a sacred point on the earth, suddenly I felt myself shoot out of my body in a standing position. But I got too scared. Like right when it happened, I just pulled myself back and jumped off that spot.
Have you ever heard of Andrew Basagio?
Yes, I have.
He was on his program, and he claims he was that he's a time traveler. Man, have you ever met him in the past?
No, but I will meet him in the future.
Okay, need a little drum roll right there. All righty. All right, see what else we got. Let's get another question. Have you ever heard of Orgone?
Yes, I have.
Have you used that, and does it enhance anything you're doing?
Yes, actually. When these experiences started to happen to me, I went online and I tried to find how to stop demonic energies or how to stop entities. And one website I found, it was called educateyourself.com, I think. And it talked about making orgons. And I actually built a bunch of them and put them around my room. And it actually did work. Instead of having experiences frequently, it started to calm it down for maybe once a week or once every couple weeks instead of every night.
So how far in the past have you ever gone?
That's a good question. There's landmarks that I know. So I've been to Egypt, and I'm guessing that's a couple thousand years. I've had visions of pre-flood, which would be, let's say, Atlantis, Lemuria. So I don't know how long that would be. Maybe about 50,000 years.
And what's that?
15.
How long do you stay out there when you went to ancient Egypt? How long were you there?
Not long, maybe like an hour.
Did you meet anybody like a pharaoh or anything, or a cat creature?
Yeah, I would meet, let's say, someone that looks like a pharaoh or looks like the statue, or they're wearing the big hat and it's almost like a skirt. And I met a being by...
Was his name Anubis?
Anubis? No, I never met Anubis.
Okay.
So
how is it they see a white guy coming back into ancient Egypt, but I'm sure they were more like, say, dark skin type of thing, and they definitely look at you and say, "Hey, man, you ain't from around here, man." I mean, or did they know? Oh, look, here's another time traveler.
I think that when I go back, let's say to Egypt, they would kind of perceive me as from the past life that I lived there. So they would almost see someone that they would be familiar with.
Sounds like they're all in on it. Did any of them time travel forward into our time?
I think so. I think there are many people, past and present and future, that are able to access this other dimension of time and space, and they use it to communicate back and forth.
Some say that there's a striking resemblance of Obama and some ancient pharaoh. Have you ever seen those pictures, side-by-side pictures?
I have. And
is that him?
Oh, I never got confirmation of that, but I've heard stories of that. They use ancient DNA, like from the mummies, to try to bring that powerful spirit back into this world. So it would be, I would say, considered some type of witchcraft, definitely.
Is a witchcraft a good thing or a bad thing in this particular situation?
I would say witchcraft and sorcery has to do with intention and permission. Because, if you're doing something with permission from the person, and if it's to benefit, I would say the whole, let's say like for a healing example, I would say that's in the right. And if you're doing something against someone's will, like casting spells, or taking someone's DNA and trying to conjure a spirit, I would say that's the other side.
Okay. Is time travel always relegated to past, or do you ever go in the future?
Oh, I've been to the future.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What's up? What's up in there?
Well, I've been to the near future, which is about 2047.
Okay.
And the only thing, the only thing that I was privy to in that journey was the Earth was much hotter. So it's not a very exciting story.
Global warming?
Well, the experience was I woke up in the back of a vehicle like I was almost living in the forest.
Okay.
And when I got out of that car, it was like I've never felt that heat before.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just I recognized the trees as being somewhere in Canada, but it's almost like you just wake up and you're there, and now I have to figure out where I am and what time it is.
Hey, a discussion's going on in the live chat.
Yeah.
Can you go in the future and tell us whether or not Donald Trump is really going to build the wall?
I thought Bill Clinton already built the wall. Maybe he'll just finish it.
Okay. Well, all right. Did you ever see or know a time when you're like, I want to put it nicely, check out? I mean, do you know that date? You do. You're shaking your head yes.
Yeah. I was told a while ago the date that I would die.
What date? Can you share that, or is that private?
No, that's private.
Okay, so you know the day you're going to die. Let's get it out there.
Well, I don't know the day. I know how old I'll be.
Okay, so will you live to be a good old age?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's no way to prevent that.
I don't know. I don't know. I'll stay positive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what you might want to do is enact the fifth commandment. I believe that's the first commandment with promise. It says, honor thy mother and thy father, that thy days may be long on the earth. So whatever that date is, I think you can add to it if you just honor the fifth commandment.
I think so too. I really do.
Okay. Well, evidently it's not set in stone then. That's good.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's the thing
right.
about the future is that what I've been shown is that nothing is set in stone. So we can go and view a future or a possible future, and let's say we come back into this world, we can make different choices, and that will change it. So it's not set in stone.
Okay. Tony in Louisiana asked this question to you, Jason Quitt. Have you ever thought about closing the portals or that they travel through? He says, when I closed mine about 3 years back, I haven't been bothered by these beings. Evidently, Tony in Louisiana says that he was bothered by beings similar to your description, and he closed their damn portal, and they can't come in and harass him. So have you ever thought about closing some portals? Are you still having fun with them? Sounds like you're having fun with them.
No, I've closed them. I've closed them.
How do you do that? Like with a door or key or what?
No. It's more intention and energy work. So you have to strengthen your own energy and your own will. And when you do that, you could make changes in the other dimensions.
Okay. Question from Cleet. Have you ever, or do you know about John Titor or Edgar Casey? Do you believe in what they do?
Well, I'm friends with John Titor II. So he's not the original. He's not the guy that came out in 99, 2000. Do I believe in him? He continually surprises me with new information. And Edgar Casey, I definitely think that he was an open channel, and he was basically connected to some type of records that he brought forth into this world.
Why do you think certain people are selected for that? I mean, why do you think that, at the beginning of the first hour, you said it started around age 5, between 5 and 11 and whatnot. Anything about you that, you were selected to experience all these things?
No, but I think that it has to start to happen when you're young. Because when I was younger, it was almost like I was shown many things that were not nice. And it almost desensitized me, so that when things started to happen in the future, I wasn't freaking out about it. I was
Can you
just taking it. Yes.
tell me what thing you were shown that was not nice?
Okay, so let's say I was 4 years old, and I got to see a life where I had to fight somebody to the death, and it was nothing like you see in the movies. It was disgusting and gruesome, and I had to literally sit there and watch this scene like I was standing in the room where it was happening. So, basically watch two people rip each other apart with their bare hands.
Did you ever see animals killed in a similar way, like little bunny rabbits?
No, no,
Did you ever see? Were you ever forced to watch sexual abuse of children?
no.
Okay. All right. And so and so that was one of the gruesome things you had to see.
Yeah. And then, like I said, when I was taken and shown things that in my 20s that were, let's say, children getting murdered, for example. And this is outer body experiences. This is not like physically there.
Right. Okay.
When I would come back from that, I would be white as a ghost and like so traumatized that I couldn't speak to people. And it took quite a while before I could even tell people some of these experiences that I've been taken on.
The trauma that you experienced, is there any way possible that allowed your conscious or subconscious to build a scenario where that would explain these things, or would create beings, even perhaps imaginary beings, to help you through these things, but maybe it wasn't real, but it was your own, you say your brain trying to protect you?
It's a good explanation, but it was almost like these beings have been present my whole life. And it's almost like this guiding hand. And you know what, like your guest said, not your guest, your caller was saying that they close these portals down. So when these started to happen to me, and I was taken to, I felt like I was this, prophet being taken to see Armageddon almost. So I was shown all these terrible things, and I would basically pray and beg that, please don't show me anymore. I don't want to see anything. This is not my life. And that's when it stopped. So I stopped being taken on these crazy adventures. And that's when these beings came to me and started to speak to me, because the beings before, they never said a word to me. They just took me. But after I said, no, I don't want a part of this, then they started to speak to me and say that, I needed to heal myself. I needed to get better. And they were trying to show me what I needed to do to help my mind, my body, my spirit.
Have you ever been able to use your outer body experiences to solve a crime or anything like that? Have you been able to help somebody by finding out information on the other side or in the future or past?
No.
Doesn't work like that?
No, and like I tell people, I really don't consider myself a psychic or a channeler. It's almost like I'm a completely normal person, and then I could just, a night here or there, something will happen.
When's the last time you had one of these experiences, Jason?
Actually, when I was in Japan a couple weeks ago. And I actually started to tell you about that experience because it was fresh on my mind, is that I went out to a restaurant and I had a soup and I thought it was too salty. And almost immediately I started to get very nauseous. So I went home and just laid down to go to sleep. And the room was like spinning. And as I went to sleep, I started to have this really crazy dream. It was like a super violent sexual dream, like something that would never cross my mind. And so I'm thinking, like, what is going on here? And I popped myself out of my body, and I literally saw these two things. They looked like these little devils. They were very small, like about a foot and a half. They had wings. They were kind of like a maroonish red. The face was indescribable. Like I can't tell you what animal it looked like. Well, one was holding the back of my head and one was holding the base of my spine. And my first reaction was anger. So I grabbed one of these by the throat and it started to scratch me. And then I just thought, wait a second, I know what to do. And then I just started to pray with a sacred mantra. And when I did that, this energy just came right through the room and it just disappeared. And when I woke up from that, all my symptoms, like I really felt sick before, it was just gone, like nothing happened. So I was trying to figure out, was I sick because these things attached to me, or was I sick because of the food? Mm-hmm. Or did I pick it up from the people I was eating food with? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I know that in that classic Christmas carol, Scrooge has the three ghosts visit him, and he says at one point, "I wonder if it was a bit of spoiled potato that caused me to have these dreams." Well, you said violent. Dare I go into this area? But anyway, why not? This is the edge. Yeah. You said a violent sexual dream. Where's the sexual part?
I can't really describe this on the air, but we'll just say that it was just something that would never cross my mind in normal life. So it's almost like the dream was so not me that in the dream you raise an eyebrow saying, what is going on here? Where is this coming from? And that's when I popped out and saw exactly where it was coming from. So these things definitely could implant memories or dreams. Mm. And that's why I said I feel like I've been being trained to do this, because it's like, okay, now I'm experiencing it. I'm observing what's going on. These things are here. And now what do I do to get rid of them?
Hmm. Well, I tell you what, that sounds like one damn portal you need to close right there.
I left that in Japan.
Okay, what happens in Japan? Apparitions and stuff stays the hell over there. I mean, of course, their whole society is filled with those kinds of things anyway. You know, yings and yangs going at it all the time. Positive and negative furies. You don't even want to mess with them. Of course, you got these three Furies guys that running around there. I discovered them on Big Trouble in Little China movie with Kurt Russell. There was these Furies, and you do not want to mess with them, man. There's some bad dudes right there. And so here's a question that came in. It says, what is the mandalas of meditation, though?
What is mandalas of meditation?
Yes.
Well, mandalas are, I would call them sacred artwork, or artwork that has to do with geometry of creation. So sacred geometry that we find in natural situations like flowers or trees or leaves. And what we do is we gaze or we meditate on those geometric forms, and it starts to change our awareness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Out of the live chat, the question comes to you. It says, Jason, have you ever believed that Jesus is Lord and God raised him from the dead?
Yeah. There was a time in my life where I was very, very fearful. And remember, I wasn't raised religious at all. Mm-hmm. So I had no religion in my life. And when these things started to happen to me out of fear, I went that route. And, I would call out to Jesus, and I'd call out to many angels and beings for help. Mm-hmm. And, I found that it was almost like I had to experience it and learn how to deal with this myself. So things never went too far. So I always felt like there was something there watching over me. So let's say I was being attacked. That attack would never pass a certain level of attack. Mm-hmm. So if I couldn't handle it myself, the experience would just end. Mm-hmm. So I always felt that there was something watching over me and protecting me. So it was almost like a learning, but they wouldn't take it too far.
Mm-hmm. I want to try something here.
Sure.
And I may not ever get the answer, but there's out of the spiritual guidebook, there's a specific reference that says, he that confesses that Jesus Christ is Lord is of God. And I'm just wondering if you would say that and then report to me in a couple of weeks and tell me if you've had any more of these beings visit you. Would you say that?
Sure. Well, like I said, it doesn't happen very often anymore.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It doesn't happen. But my wife is very, very connected to that energy, what we would call Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you just say that? Would you just go and say that so we have a record of it?
My wife is very connected.
No. Just say Jesus Christ is Lord.
Oh, Jesus Christ is Lord.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me know in a couple of weeks and tell me if anything changes in that, because some have said that confession alters the reality or the things that are happening to them, and so it'd be an interesting test. I mean, man, you're a great guy, and I want to know, man. I mean, you are very honest and.
Well, when I say that, I can feel very amazing. I would call it energy going through me. It almost feels like warm water going down through my body when I say that.
Wow, excellent.
But you know, I believe the divine takes many forms, mm-hmm. and that's through my experience. So, you know, I don't discount any religion or any figure whatsoever, and I would go and connect with those things just to see my own experience. So I will tell you and report back what I find.
Okay, very good, very good. Yeah. Because there are specific things, according to the sort of the Christian spirituality matrix, that there are things that are said, and then there are things that will happen. I mean, there are actually things they say will happen. Of course, I gave you one on the fifth commandment. It specifically says you can alter time and space and add years to your life by honoring your mother and your father. All right, here's a question for you, because you mentioned the beings over there in Japan. Have you ever had physical marks or scratches on your body?
A long time ago, yes. So if I would have, let's say, a violent night, or a not good experience, sometimes I'd wake up with a bruise or two.
Wow. Oh, well, that's tangible evidence right there.
Yeah, but who am I going to tell?
well, I don't know, if you tell authorities, it might take you away. So I'd hold back on that just a little bit, man. You know.
Right.
There you go. This must be a tongue-in-cheek question here. Have you ever met Bigfoot?
No.
Okay.
But I'd like to. But I hear you smell them before you see them.
Yeah, I mean, that's classic Bigfootism right there. You know, but those appear. I mean, from all the Bigfoot people we've had on, they always kind of say that they're interdimensional beings, and it sounds like you're living a sort of a lifestyle in interdimensional activity. You know, and I just want to say this again. Egyptian postures of power, ancient Ogigan system, man. What is a Qui-Gon system?
Oh, Qigong.
Qigong, huh?
Yeah, it's a Chinese word that means the flow of energy, mm-hmm. or life force energy. And basically, that book was written from what was taught me from the past lives. So that was a system of healing that was taught to me that I brought back into this life. And, you know, I should definitely do it after this interview again.
Okay. All right. Good deal, man. Yeah. Have you ever heard of the Mandela effect?
I have. I don't really have too much of an opinion of it, because I don't see I don't want to say so much evidence, mm-hmm. because like I've taken that test, and some of the answers that I get are different than other people's, but it's almost like we have collective experiences or collective memories, mm-hmm. That somehow get altered, but I'm not sure why.
Do you know what the purpose is that you were given traumatic visions?
I think it was to prepare me for maybe what's to come in the future.
Mm-hmm. And you have no idea what that is? But couldn't you visit the future to find out what that is?
The futures that I've seen are not so nice. So I can't really tell you, because, mm-hmm. like I said, I'm under the impression that we can alter and change the future.
Mm-hmm. So you go around and are you with a group of people that do seminars, or how's all of that go?
Yeah, I started to get invited to different conferences, like consciousness conferences or UFO conferences or conspiracy shows, and they seem to like my story. So, I was talking at a UFO conference and, just sharing my experiences. And that's where I met Bob Mitchell, who never heard these stories before. And he said, Jason, let me help you put a book together with your experiences. So we did that. And it's very strange because we weren't expecting it to be this big. It's like it almost went out there and suddenly it just grabbed this whole life of its own. And it's being translated into Chinese, Japanese, German. So it's out there. People are liking it.
In forbidden knowledge, of what is the most forbidden knowledge that you know?
I would say that we're being hidden from basically our true reality, and that I would say that the reality that we live in is being manipulated and controlled by beings that we can't see or even experience. So it's our job.
Well, some people call them the Illuminati.
I would say that that's part of it. But this goes further. This is dimensional, and this is very old and ancient. And remember, it's like for example, we get our food and our substance, our nutrition from the mineral world and the animal world and the plant world. So we use the things underneath us to keep us alive. We have to understand that there's things above us that we keep alive.
Would that be the Prince of the Power of the Air type of people?
I don't know. I would just say I would call them
principalities and powers. It sounds like what you're describing there, and I think we need to be careful. And along those lines, this question this question says, Jason, do you worry that participating in this type of behavior could be passed on to one of your children or future children? Is this something that you want to be passed on?
I would just say that I can't choose the reality of somebody else, and we all have to make that conscious decision. I think on some level I've chosen this. I do really think I've helped a lot of people by sharing my story. And I know many years ago, even talking about this openly would be not a good thing. But it seems like there's so much crazy stuff out there right now. It's just going into the noise of it all.
So when your children, they want to hear the story of Hansel and Gretel, you say, I don't have that one, but I have the story of an outer body experience where I go flying off to another universe and time travel and see myself in the past, and I talk to ancient pharaohs in ancient Samaria. Is that going to be in your house?
No.
Do I foresee that in your household?
No, I wouldn't share that. I wouldn't share that information. I would allow the child to grow up normally, and if something does happen to them, then I would know how to support them in that.
How would you support them spiritually?
I would teach them meditation. I would teach them how to breathe properly, how to relieve stress, just basic philosophies. Yeah.
Would that include anything in the biblical text, the good parts? Have you ever read the book of Psalms? I mean, you might as well call that the book of wisdom, because we all need wisdom. Have you ever read that? You should. I mean, just basically day-to-day wisdom.
Okay, I will definitely check it out. And like I said before, is that I don't really have that background, but I will definitely look into it.
Yeah, well, it's not a background; it's a source. It's a source of ancient wisdom. I mean, you talk about the ancients. Well, certainly, I'm sure things were a lot cleaner back, 2,000 to 4,000 years ago than they are now. It's kind of like I take colloidal minerals, and if you know about those, they're from like ancient peat bogs out there in Utah from hundreds of thousands of years ago, and that's when everything grew big, and those minerals were stored back then. So, sometimes you got to go back. You talk about going back, to get the best stuff. That's what you want, rather than say something on a farm grown on ground that has never, ever been able to ever let rested, which you should do. Most farmers don't let their land rest. And so there's no minerals and stuff in the plants and vegetables that they grow. So I'm just saying the book of Psalms is like that. It's like the ancient, minerals.
Yes.
To help you in your life. So don't discount. Just add that into your feast, your cornucopia of wisdom searching.
No, and that's the thing. I don't discount anything. There is wisdom in all of this, and I will definitely look into it and read it.
All right. Well, we've got a few more minutes left. Back to your website and various things. There's a lot more books on there, really, that I saw than the Forbidden Knowledge. But what else is on there?
We have Disclosed, Chronicles of John Titor II, and that's completely John Titor's story. It has nothing to do with me. I just am a good friend of his and helped him put that together. Mm-hmm. And he talks about physical time travel with the military. Mm-hmm. And then there's another book that we put up there called Egyptian Postures of Power. Mm-hmm. And that's the postures that was given to me from my past life outer body experiences. Mm-hmm. And my website is thecrystalsun.com. Mm-hmm. And we're going to continue. There's a lot of stories. There's a lot of information that's been coming out. And I'm going to work on a new book with John Titor. And I'm going to... there's a couple other books down the pipe that are starting to come together.
Mm-hmm. When's your next seminar?
When's my next seminar?
Do you have one scheduled or no?
I think I'm going to California in March.
Mm-hmm. Now you say we're in Japan. Do the groups that say invite you do they pay for your trips, or how does all that work?
Yeah. So you have different groups that are interested, let's say, in the Qigong, or energy medicine, or even just meditations. Mm-hmm. And what they'll do is they'll say, come down, and we have a group that would love to experience your system.
Mm-hmm. Right now, I'm into the system of laying on of hands and anointing with oil. It seems to be pretty good. Is this a full-time job for you?
It's become a full-time job. It wasn't always. My background is a graphic designer, so I've put together different magazines and different books and websites before, so it comes naturally. But I have to tell you that my first training was about. It was called the Healing Oils of the Bible, and what oils were used in the Bible, and how to put them on, anoint people, and say those prayers that were said in the Bible. I took that course with a gentleman by the name of David Stewart, wow. And he wrote a book called Healing Oils of the Bible.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me do a memory check here. What book did I recommend you read?
It was the Songs of Solomon, right?
Nope, Book of Psalms.
Book of Psalms. Okay.
So
let me just write this down now that you caught me here.
Okay. Yes, write it down.
Okay. All right. Well, there we go.
All right. You got it. All right. You got a bookmark. You got it written down. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, Jason, we're right here at the end of the broadcast. And wait a minute. Somebody says spell it for you. How'd you spell it?
Oh, it's with a P.
Yeah. Correct. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we're at the end of the broadcast here. What'd you think about the program?
No, I liked it. I really liked the format, and like I said, I'm just here to tell my story, and it doesn't matter what group. Mm-hmm. And I'm getting some information from you too, so
very good.
We're all helping each other.
Well, that's the way it works, man. You know what I found is you got to interact with people, because nuggets of truth is sort of imparted in so many people, and really it almost causes us to get along with people, because even somebody you may not like might have a little nugget of truth that will help you. And if you say, if we as people say, I shun them for X reason, X and X reason, then there may be something in your life you're not going to get because it was deposited into their life. And so, you may have some nuggets yourself that have been deposited in your life, and somebody maybe need to listen to you because you would have it, I would have it, and that's just the way. Maybe somebody in the live chat would have it too, in our program. So that's the way it is, and it causes us to really to get along. Where it says love thy neighbor, that's one way we can do it. If we love them enough to listen to them, we might just get that little gold piece of nugget to help us in our life.
Well, I'll tell you something that was given to me years ago, and this was from those beings. They basically said to me, you can't live your life in your room. You have to get out there and be with people and learn about all the people around you.
That's very good. That's very good. All right. By the way, you say you're a graphic designer. Have you seen the Edge's website?
Yes, I have.
How do you like it compared to all the billions that you've seen?
Is it a WordPress site?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm just saying.
No, that was.
I had an HTML site for years, and I was trying so hard not to convert over. But once I learned WordPress and got that up and running, it's just everything's so much easier.
May look into that. That might be something I need to look into because you're right. That is an HTML site, and I made it.
Yeah.
So don't say nothing bad about it.
No. Like I said, that's what I used to do too, and I was so proud of it because I did it. And I wrote that code.
Fortunately for me, it's got some tech features to it that allows us to live video stream and other things. All right. Well, Jason Quitt, I appreciate you coming on the Edge television broadcast tonight.
Thank you for having me, Daniel.
All right. Good evening.